265 female prisoners were raped and then burned to death. This video shows where and when this horrifying mass rape took place. You are looking at inmates fleeing from a prison in the Democratic Republic of Congo. More than 4,000 detainees made it out that day. But before their escape, some of the men carried out the mass rape of 165 women, then set the prison alight. Most of those victims died in the fire. That's according to the United Nations. Only around a dozen female inmates who had also been raped survived the blaze. Now, fighting has been taking place in Goma as a feared and dangerous rebel group called M23 battled government troops for control of the city, which is in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. In a matter of days, the M23 rebels forcibly seized the city. Now, systematic sexual violence has plagued the Democratic Republic of Congo for decades. Now, with the conflict spiraling out of control, women and girls are yet again at risk.
Women and girls are yet again at risk. That is a whole conversation that I'm going to be doing in March anyway, because most of you who don't know, usually during war, conflict, or even ordinary armed robbery, women's bodies are always weaponized. They are always violated. Some man somewhere always thinks we can steal everything as well as steal our dignity. That is what they do. My guest right now is Mireille, I'm trying to pronounce it properly, Tushiminina, who is an who is an international development expert with over 25 years of experience in the UN system, global institutions, and the non-profit sector. Her work focuses on democratic governance, gender equality, and peace building across Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Mireille, thank you so much for coming on Borderlines.
No, I'm the one that should be thanking you so much, Ireti. You have no idea what it means to me.
Oh, no, it's a big deal to us. We you know, our job, the objective of Borderlines is constantly to, you know, create awareness on what's going on in the global south, whether it's alliances, whether it's wars, whether it's those that are for, those that are against, those are messing it up. And right now, it would appear Rwanda is the, how should I say, the villain in this whole conversation. Would you agree?
Yes. And that is, you know, me as a Congolese and of course, an advocate and really someone deeply connected with the struggle and the resilience of my people. And, you know, I wouldn't be pointing a finger directly at any neighboring countries, but we have to look at the bigger picture for us to now understand why it is being zeroed into just kind of two countries or two leaders, you know, going at each other's throat. And I think that, you know, you have no idea how this conversation is just not just necessary, but it's urgent. You know, there's a sense of urgency for us to really try to dig down and really keep on digging for us to really uncover the truth. So yes, if we have to pinpoint who's the enemy, who's the foe, who's the allies and all, it's a total chaos. But I can reassure you, Rwanda is one of them.
Right. Okay. Rwanda is one of them. Of course, there are some 300 and something tribes in the whole of Congo. So you've got the big ones, just like we have in Nigeria, who are the ones that dominate the news. And then you have the smaller ones who don't even get a look in, some of whom live in the eastern Congo, and so much atrocities happening to them. But we constantly talk about the Tutsis and the Hutus. Let's talk about the ceasefire, because again, we don't have much time, and I know you're a peace activist. About a week or so after the M23 actually invaded Goma, we then heard of a ceasefire. But that ceasefire doesn't seem to be an actual ceasefire. What are your thoughts?
And thank you so much for this question. Um, the current, the ongoing chaos in my country, as we all know, it's largely driven by numerous flawed and calculated and self-serving agreements signed by both past and current leaders, okay? So these agreements, rather than fostering true peace, have only deepened instability, as you can see it now. For anyone to understand what's truly going on with this, this current crisis, that we're living, you have to see the patterns that have been going on. Since 2003, for example, you had that, a peace agreement again with the RCD, the Rassemblement Congolais pour la Démocratie with Rwandan. Then you have the 2009, which of course birthed the M23. You have the 2012. So everybody's asking the same questions. Why there is kind of a semblant of peace. So when you go back and read those agreements, you will see that there is, despite the different form, that they all had one underlining kind of a coded objective or message, I will say, the balkanization of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So each time the ceasefire was a conditional, upon, any of these agreements. It's all about ceding control over the eastern part of the country and, and effectively underlying, our sovereignty. So even those, and I recall we're joking a few days ago with my mom and other activists where, recalling the one peace agreement that Baba, former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, which, serve as a mediator as well, even attended one of these peace agreements and kind of, glanced our representative as if, are you really sure what you're signing? And are you okay? Kind of a sign. I mean, it's everyone speaks about it, and for them, the deal was signed, and thinking that they're really protecting the nation. But to tell you the truth, the DRC has failed to negotiate from a position of strength. And they continuously, sign agreements to jeopardize the sovereignty of the country rather to enforcing it. So I think until we adopt, and which I'm really hoping that it will be one of the new resolution, hopefully soon, that we adopt a firm and quite a strategic approach that prioritize the national interest over external pressure, maybe through a lasting peace, we remain elusive. So that's basically where we're standing.
It's that peace that is elusive, as you said. And one of the things, in Africa, you often hear that finding oil is a curse. In Congo, you have everything. You have everything the world wants.
Everything.
Talk to me about being enriched naturally by nature, a country, yet the people suffering and so much poverty. Not just conflict, but poverty and bad governance. Talk to us about that.
Dear. And thank you so much for your question. And it's quite sad because the current administration, and I'm really hoping that, they wake up, that as we are going, we all talking about, the industrialization. And there cannot be global industrialization without the DRC, if we are not even ready to tackle that global industrialization that is right, around the corner. how can we manage, the current situation, the current crisis?
Indeed.
Yes, it is, unfortunately, it's, for us, the lack of strong governance, strong leaders in the country. And for anyone, you have to know the history of the DRC, how we started. I won't dwell on, the independence. I won't dwell on the Mobutu regime and all. I won't dwell on that. My focus is today, after over millions of lives that have been lost, and our sole focus today is one country, one leader. And for me, it does not do justice for the 900,000 lives that you rightly mentioned that are lost, that we've lost just through this few weeks. For these women, not only 165 that were raped, I have videos even in the capital city, young girls being raped, and those videos are all over being shared. We've lost so many lives and women's and the refugees and all this influx of IDPs, that there is definitely a dire need for the government to wake up and kind of really strategize on the solutions and on the way forward. Unfortunately, the country does not have the proper infrastructure. Who do we blame? Do you blame the population? We are the victim, victim of, again, self-serving, leaders of greed, people protecting the interest instead of protecting, the nation. And one of the slogan that the incumbent, when he was, running his campaign, not really to dwell on the person, but this campaign was, my father said, the people first, le peuple d'abord. That's what he used to say. And fast forward, we're all asking ourselves, where are the interests of the people have gone?
Indeed.
As you mentioned earlier about the women and girls, 30 years now, we adopted, and I'm sure you're familiar with that, the Beijing Declaration, and platform of actions. We have the, WPS, the UN resolutions, in peace and security, which I am an expert, pushing for national action plan on the continent, regionally and all, and, really driving, gender equality and women's rights. But guess what? We're still talking about the same issues even 30 to 40 years later, meaning there is definitely a sense of urgency. Yeah. I am hoping that our leaders are listening to the people on the ground, the Congolese in the diaspora, allies that are coming into solidarity for really systemic change. And for me, I like to disrupt. So I will say, disruptive systemic change. We cannot continue with the same advisors, the same environment, the same people, expecting a miracle. Just to give you a little background, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Very quickly.
When we start talking about the DRC...
Oh, we're going to get you back for an hour. Don't worry. I'm going to get you back for an hour.
I'm telling you, it can take years because for me, what hurts me is the same people today that you're seeing leading, the M23, which were Congolese officials, heading the Electoral Commission who don't know military background, but now they're leaders of rebel group. So for me, it's okay. My hope is that our leadership is working to solutions, and we,
the leadership, the president being Tshisekedi. There's a question that comes to me where, it's apparent that, or it is widely believed, I shouldn't say apparent, it is widely believed, and even this has been said by the UN, that Rwanda is selling Congolese natural minerals, cobalt, etc., etc. Now, here's the thing, that President Kagame has contracts with European companies American companies. I'm wondering if you could answer this in a minute. So, because the calls have started going and I haven't even announced it yet. If you could answer this in a minute, why hasn't Tshisekedi been able to actually step into that space and say, look, have this contract with me, even if it means he's having to undercut Kagame? Why hasn't he been able to do that? Why, many call him weak. Is that correct? Is that deserving? Does he deserve that title?
I don't think he deserves that title. I do not think. And Ireti, you will agree with me, as big as Nigeria, okay? Let's just break it down. Nigeria, we know the oil. We know Nigeria. You're able to name 5 top billionaires in Nigeria, from Dangote, Alekija, Tony Elimenu. You can, Tony Kola Karim, you can name all of this. Let me ask you, can you name me one Congolese billionaire?
And therein lies the problem. Oh, Mireille, you've got to come back. Therein lies the problem. Let's go back to talk about this piece before I run out of time. And I will try and answer at least 2 or 3 calls so that I know you have questions for Mireille. You've got Burundi, you've got South Africa, you've got Uganda, you've got Kenya trying to be a peace broker, the international community. Who is the weakest link out of all of that? To the peace process, that is.
For the peace process, well, and I will be talking as a woman of the soil, a proud Congolese, and
of course,
and also an activist. And if you ask me, they are all the weakest links.
Right.
None of them.
None of them are better than. Not even Ruto. Not even Ruto.
None of them. No one.
You can call now. I will try to pick up your call. 0201. None of them. 2770993. I'm coming to your calls now. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yeah, you have to. Please bring her back. 2 hours is not enough for her. She has a law.
Okay.
Please,
all right, Titilokwe, we will
let me tell you my contribution.
Quickly.
Actually, she has actually made some of my points. The problem is that she mentioned that Obasanjo, and I want to say again, Mandela. Apart from Obasanjo and Mandela, look at the present clubs of leaders we have in Africa today. How many of them can exert such influence that is going to bring Kagame, Joseph Kabila, and co to the table, talk about peace? When Kabila was killed in 1999 or thereabout, Obasanjo, what effort Obasanjo made to ensure that there was peace and there was peaceful transition by making Joseph Kabila become the president? You don't have to see that again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Hello. Oh, I missed your call. You can call back. Sorry about that. Okay, here you are. Hello.
Yeah, evening,
Evening, Emmanuel. Go ahead. You have 1 minute because the lines are going crazy.
Yeah, my first question is, in most cases, seizing a location, we have the backing of the indigenous people. Those places, the M23, are seizing. Do your guests think the indigenous people of those environments, support the M23?
Okay.
That's one. Number 2.
Oh, Emmanuel, go on.
Yeah, South Africa is furious. The leadership of South Africa is furious about the killing of their soldiers.
Yeah.
I mean, do your guests think that there is going to be a revenge from South Africa? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, Mireille, okay, the line again. I was going to say, write those 2 down. But what Emmanuel is saying is, do you think the tribes nearer the east, which is where the minerals are, which is where a lot of the fights are, do you think they support the M23? And also, do you think South Africa is going to respond, retaliate for the killings of their soldiers, which, going by what Ramaphosa said?
Retaliate.
I'm going to give you a minute because the lines are going crazy and we're almost done.
South Africa, the first question I did not quite...
well, I think he was just... the first one, he was just...
I think it sounds like a comment.
Yes.
I'm hoping that if there is any retaliation, will be towards the neighboring countries. Because don't forget, SADC and, South Africa and the DRC are both from the SADC region. And there is a lot of agreements between those 2 countries as well. So I believe the retaliation might not go towards the DRC, because that will also jeopardize some of the agreements between South Africa and the DRC. So for me, with all due respect to President Ramaphosa, will to kind of reconsider how he really wants to play a key role. That's all I can say.
Okay, excellent. You can call now. I'll pick up your call. I have like 2 minutes left. So if you've got anything to say, call now. Do I have any messages on WhatsApp, please? There are no... Okay, here we go. I knew it. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Ireti,
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. My question is to your guest. Just during the week, they held an OAU meeting in Ethiopia. I don't know if the meeting is still going on. What is African Union? What are they doing about development in Africa?
Okay.
When you go to Europe, you see Europe, they're talking about development.
No, don't use up the
future.
time. Give her time to answer, but I hear you.
Yes, please. What are they talking about
Okay.
African development and the future? That's my question to your guest.
Okay. Right. The AU, and even more so, what are they doing to actually broker peace, more to the point, rather than just leaving it to the Eastern, Europe? Yeah.
Definitely. Great question, by the
East
way.
Africa, right?
Let's see. I believe that the issue of this current crisis will be tabled at the upcoming African Union Summit. So I think we should be, hear more after the elections and see some of the resolutions that they will be, pushing forward under the new leadership. But let's not forget the same African Union. We all know the silencing of the guns. We all know all of this every year, new thematic that we have to, to put in motion in those countries. So this is quite a little bit complex, because do not forget, again, as I mentioned earlier, that it's all about people's self-interest. So you have individual interest, you have institutional interest, and you also look down and I'm hoping that our leadership will be ready when you have a huge revolution, industrialization, revolution coming up, and when you know that Africa will play a role, precisely DRC, which side do you take for the development of your country and your own greed? So these are some of the questions that other African leaders and hopefully our brothers and sisters from the continent will also have to ask themselves, what role do we have to play as individuals and as leaders, as a member state? How do we contribute for peace to reign in Africa? Bear in mind that
Nigeria
is being voted.
We'll be right back. We see you, Mr. As My Guy don't win. Please say don't ginger. No dollar. We did jolly just call welcome offer. Bet King is giving you 100 Naira instant sign-up bonus. That's not all. Within 14 days on the app, you stand a chance to get up to 1 million Naira in rewards and enjoy
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.